Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to this webinar on EPEAT 2.0 for purchasers, policymakers, and other stakeholders. We're very glad to see you all here, and we're really excited to be talking to you about EPEAT 2.0. My name is Kaushik Ramakrishnan, and I'm the VP Vice President of Global Market Development at GEC. In this webinar, we'll give you a little bit of an overview of EPEAT 2.0 and talk about some of its unique features and strengths as a leading eco-label for electronic products. We will also share with you how the transition to EPEAT 2.0 will take place and what this means for purchasers like you using it as a sustainable procurement tool. We'll then wrap up with a quick look at the updated EPEAT Registry and give you a sneak peek of more touch points and more events to come in the new year in 2026. But before going there, let me introduce our speakers for today. We'll hear from Bob Mitchell, the CEO of the Global Electronics Council. We'll hear from Catherine Larocque, who's the Director of Eco-Labels and Resources. We'll see a demo of the registry, of the updated registry from Jordan Kimball, who's our Technical Project Manager. And you'll hear more from me on the transition to 2.0 and on implications of the transitions for purchasers. Before diving in, let me also just touch on a quick logistical point. We have a large number of participants on this call, which is great. We're really excited to have you all here, but we will not do a live Q&A. However, we don't want that to prevent you from asking any questions. So please do use the Q&A question feature of the GoToWebinar platform to ask any questions you may have. And we will look at these questions. We'll respond offline, or if there's questions that we see coming multiple times, that's useful information for us to include in our EPEAT 2.0 FAQs. But with that out of the way, let's move to the next slide, and then I will hand it over to Bob to kick us off.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kaushik. As Kaushik mentioned, I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Global Electronics Council, and I couldn't be more thrilled to speak with you today about the evolution of EPEAT. It's been nearly 20 years since the launch of this eco-label, and I had the pleasure of working on the company side of the stakeholder community when it launched, pursuing one of the first EPEAT Gold products. It was recognized then as a tremendous opportunity to demonstrate commitment to the purchaser, investor, civil society, and policy community on ESG issues, and it remains so today. There is no other market signal for electronic products that has the reach and impact of EPEAT. But the EPEAT we will share with you today is very different from the EPEAT back then. And we're excited to share with you the next evolution of eco-label systems with EPEAT 2.0. As you may know, EPEAT is not an organization. It's an eco-label, but it's an important mechanism under which to accelerate change. The Global Electronics Council has a broader mission and has set a bold ambition for our community of 100% sustainable electronics by 2050 for everyone, everywhere. While we also support that ambition through other efforts, such as our recent acquisition of the Circular Electronics Partnership, our advocacy, convening, thought leadership, and partnerships, EPEAT 2.0 is a major catalyst towards this bold vision. EPEAT 2.0 has finally officially arrived, and it delivers the most comprehensive approach available for advancing sustainable electronics in the marketplace today. EPEAT 2.0 deepens impact across supply chains, strengthens environmental and social performance, and sets a higher standard for transparency and accountability across the entire electronics industry. However, in an increasingly complex world, it also prepares our community to lead instead of follow and simply react. Sustainable procurement is resilient procurement. And in the very challenging and dynamic global context we currently find ourselves, the value of EPEAT 2.0 as a trusted, impact-driven market signal is perhaps stronger than ever before. Now, before moving forward, I thought it'd be important to level set and remind everyone what we actually mean by EPEAT 2.0. As many of you know, in February of this year, we completed a multi-year initiative to update the criteria across 4 sustainability impact areas. This has allowed us to create horizontal modular criteria that fundamentally revolutionize our criteria development process, so it's no longer siloed as a process for each product category. This modular approach also provides a more efficient, faster pace for future revisions and for launching new product categories into new paradigms. Think digital infrastructure, adjacent industries, and other opportunities. We know many of you have been working diligently to meet the new criteria or encouraging your suppliers to meet that criteria, and everyone's looking for guidance on how to refer to them. To that end, we recently announced that the previous criteria, or the old criteria, will collectively be referred to as EPEAT 1.0. And the new criteria that were developed over the last several years by sustainability impact modules will be referred to as EPEAT 2.0. We think it's simple, intuitive way to convey that EPEAT 2.0 represents more than just the updated criteria. It's an ecosystem of experts, programs, and a community of practice that enables meaningful progress. Please. But EPEAT 2.0 represents a truly transformative shift in the EPEAT system, driving impact deeper into supply chains and tackling more complex sustainability issues than ever before. The modular, universal criteria are built to swiftly adapt to the rapid evolution of the technology industry, which we see changing almost every day, to be honest. This means that EPEAT 2.0 is more agile and able to respond more efficiently to stakeholder demands for new EPEAT product categories and emerging priorities. It also means that EPEAT can address these new sustainability issues more quickly and credibly than any other electronics eco-label in the marketplace as well. Most eco-labels have one set of baseline criteria that must be met, but not EPEAT. As many of you know, our system utilizes both required and optional criteria that enable EPEAT to address those emerging issues at the forefront of sustainability. It also encourages a race to the top. In fact, given the challenges facing global supply chains and the evolving geopolitical context we find ourselves in, companies that embrace EPEAT 2.0 and pursue that race to the top will necessarily be more resilient and better positioned for success in a rapidly changing world. EPEAT's been raising the bar and defining sustainability leadership for electronics for almost 2 decades, and EPEAT 2.0 represents a continued evolution of the premier global electronics eco-label. Established in 2006, this eco-label exists to make it easier for organizations to purchase electronics that are better for people, the planet, and the bottom line. And the impact it has had since this time has been truly remarkable. Looking at the stats on the screen, you can see the tangible environmental and financial benefits associated with the 2.7 plus billion EPEAT registered products sold since 2006. 2.7 billion. That's $34 billion in cost savings and 341 million metric tons of greenhouse gases avoided. These numbers really do speak for themselves. While EPEAT 1.0 has a nearly 20-year history of leadership and impact in the electronics sector, and continues to deliver sustainability leadership, EPEAT 2.0 encompasses not only updates to our criteria, but the next generation of EPEAT system in its entirety. Because EPEAT 2.0 criteria drive further into the supply chain and address brand new issues at the forefront of sustainability, the potential impact of 2.0 is tremendous to build on these statistics you see in front of you. I do want to emphasize also that an EPEAT registered product, regardless of whether it meets 1.0 or 2.0 criteria, represents sustainability leadership. As the trusted steward of EPEAT, GEC is committed, as I mentioned before, to continue to grow these numbers over time and continue to drive towards 100% sustainable electronics by 2050 for everyone, everywhere. And this shows the momentum we've got behind that. We often describe EPEAT as an easy button for purchasers because eco-labels develop criteria to address the key sustainability impacts across the life cycle of products and require independent third-party verification of conformance with criteria. Because EPEAT does all this work, it means purchasers don't have to. You don't have to become sustainability experts or conduct verification on your own. And importantly, you can trust the EPEAT system. With close to 300 million EPEAT registered products purchased annually worldwide, EPEAT is trusted by more purchasers, offers more access to more sustainable electronics than ever before. In fact, EPEAT is relied upon as a key lever in advancing sustainable and resilient procurement in over 50 countries around the world. And will continue to provide this important market signal, matching the demand for sustainable technology with offerings from the world's most progressive companies. We also know that EPEAT 2.0 addresses many of the pressing issues at the forefront of sustainability that purchasers care about. And for this reason, EPEAT 2.0 will continue to be a key enabler of sustainable procurement globally. To underscore this with some examples, I'd like to highlight how EPEAT is embedded in procurement policies and practices around the world. First, national and regional governments in the EU use EPEAT for large bids and tenders and framework agreements, including those that are $50 million and above. National and regional governments in the U.S. states coordinate purchasing through contracts that leverage EPEAT as well. Organizations such as the UN drive progress by buying EPEAT Climate Plus products. And private sector actors such as banks, healthcare organizations, and higher education institutes participate in EPEAT and the EPEAT Purchaser Awards to underscore their commitment to using EPEAT as a lever for change. And these are just a few of the many examples in which EPEAT is embedded into sustainable procurement action around the world. Before moving on, I just want to say a quick thank you. Purchasers, policymakers, participating manufacturers, civil society, other stakeholders, for all the commitment to implementing EPEAT and to advancing sustainable electronics, and for moving EPEAT forward to EPEAT 2.0. This was truly a collective effort. The criteria development, as an example, was a multi-stakeholder process, and at times could be grueling. It was a lot that was put into that, many hours, many plane trips, lots of document reviews, and healthy, thoughtful debate went into the finalization of this criteria to create something balanced, something that pushes the entire industry forward and resilient purchasing, responsible purchasing forward as well, but is also achievable in a stepwise fashion in that race to the top I mentioned before. So again, thank you in so many languages for all the effort that was put in. This is truly something that we can all be proud of. And now that it's being put into the world, now we all get to take advantage of it to move forward our common shared missions. I'm going to hand it over to Catherine Larocque, our Director of Ecolabels and Resources, to unpack EPEAT just a little bit further. Catherine, over to you.
Thanks, Bob, and hello, everyone. At GEC, we often say that EPEAT is credible by design, and I'm going to take the next few minutes just to help all of you understand some important attributes of our system. So what you see on the screen here are some of the key features of the EPEAT program. And when it comes to stakeholder consultation, EPEAT engages a balanced group of stakeholders in a voluntary consensus process to develop criteria. Our criteria development process really does go above and beyond the requirements for Type 1 ecolabels, and it's something we are extremely proud of. The criteria are life cycle based, so that means they address impacts across the whole life cycle of the product, from raw material extraction and manufacturing through to product transport, use, and end of life. The criteria themselves are also science-based. We do extensive research and engage experts to understand what the most important sustainability impacts of a product are, so that we can develop criteria to address them. And just as importantly, the criteria are difficult to achieve. They're designed to identify sustainability leadership, and generally only the top 25 or 30% of products can meet them. Lastly, we require independent third-party experts to verify that products meet the criteria. I know some of you joining us today may be really familiar with EPEAT and eco-labeling, while others might be fairly new to both. So I've only briefly touched on some of these key features, but I hope that helps give some insight into a few key aspects of the EPEAT system. So Type 1 ecolabels are the gold standard when it comes to eco-labeling. And for purchasers and policymakers on the call today, it really is Type 1 ecolabels that we recommend you leverage and use. Now, EPEAT is an ecolabel you can trust, not just because I'm telling you that you should, but because we've actually pursued and achieved recognition from 2 independent organizations against the requirements for Type 1 ecolabels. We are audited regularly by ANAB against the ISO 14024 standard to confirm that EPEAT fulfills all requirements for Type 1 ecolabels. And we have also successfully completed a peer review process conducted by the Global Eco-Labeling Network, again, against the requirements for Type 1 ecolabels. We are very proud of these achievements, and we're always working hard to make sure EPEAT continues to operate in accordance with these best practices and other external benchmarks for Type 1 ecolabels. So I know I already mentioned that EPEAT engages stakeholders in criteria development, but I hope this slide gives all of you a better appreciation for the breadth and sheer number of stakeholders that were involved in the development of EPEAT 2.0 criteria. In fact, across all of the modules, over 100 stakeholders participated in drafting criteria either on technical committees or in expert ad hoc groups, while many more actually submitted feedback during consultation periods. EPEAT draws expertise from a really diverse range of stakeholders, including manufacturers, purchasers, supply chain partners, sustainability advocates and NGOs, policymakers, and others. However, in the technical committees where criteria are developed, we do ensure balanced representation across 4 key stakeholder groups, just to make sure that no one stakeholder group can dominate the decision-making process. Because decisions are reached using a voluntary consensus process, maintaining this balance is especially important. It's really quite a remarkable process, and I know Bob just thanked everyone, but I'd like to thank anyone as well. Anyone on this call today who participated in the development of EPEAT 2.0 criteria, because like he said, we really couldn't have done this without the community of stakeholders that choose to engage with us. So now, while we're on the topic of stakeholder engagement, I also wanted to make sure that all of you are aware of the many different ways you can engage with EPEAT. As I just mentioned, there are several opportunities to engage in the development of criteria, whether that's weighing in on a product category proposal or state of sustainability research report in the early days of criteria development, or participating in expert ad hoc groups or technical committees, or even providing written feedback on draft criteria during stakeholder comment periods. Our criteria are better because of this deep engagement. And again, we are just so appreciative of everyone who gives their time to do that. Secondly, in the green circle, you'll see that we also host conformity guidance group meetings pretty regularly. They are more technical in nature, but they're held to obtain feedback on technical aspects of the criteria. So we use the CGG to address technical issues as they arise. There are no standing members and anyone can participate. Next, you'll see the annual policy revision process highlighted. And that's because every year we hold a public stakeholder comment period, usually in Q4, and provide all stakeholders with an opportunity to provide feedback on any proposed changes to our key policy documents, including the EP policy manual, GEC criteria development process, and others. And lastly, please know that we post all of these opportunities to engage on the EPEAT announcements page and in GEC newsletters. So I would encourage all of you to check out the announcements page and sign up for the newsletters if you're interested. All right, I'm going to change gears here a little bit and talk about the criteria because they are obviously a very big part of the EPEAT system. Fundamentally, EPEAT 2.0 criteria are designed to identify more sustainable products built by sustainability conscious companies with responsibly managed supply chains. And this is because our criteria establish requirements not only for products, but also for the companies who make these products to drive requirements deep into the value chain and across supplier facilities. In fact, over 40% of the EPEAT 2.0 criteria are applicable to supply chain, environmental, and human rights due diligence, while many others address corporate commitments on water, waste, and carbon. EPEAT 2.0 represents a significant step forward in aligning the operations, supply chains, and products for the global electronics sector with leading sustainability and ethical sourcing practices. And the system is built to address impacts across 4 key areas, including climate, chemicals, circularity, and responsible supply chains. Now on the screen, you'll see a list of some of the issues EPEAT 2.0 criteria address. But please know it's certainly not an exhaustive list. I'm not going to cover these in detail today. But even just looking at the few items I've included, you can really start to see how transformative 2.0 really is, including requirements, for instance, around renewables, product carbon footprints, water stewardship, PFAS, responsible mineral sourcing, and living wages. EPEAT 2.0 really and truly redefines and raises the bar regarding what it means for a product to be EPEAT registered. Because again, with 2.0, it's not just more sustainable products, but more sustainable companies and supply chains as well. Changing gears again, I'm going to talk about EPEAT tiers because our approach with bronze, silver, and gold tiers is certainly a unique aspect of our system. And what I would like to underscore first and foremost is that EPEAT isn't a rating system. It is indeed, as you've heard, a type 1 eco-label. However, most eco-labels have one set of baseline criteria that must be met, and that's what makes EPEAT a little different. Our system is built to be able to address new emerging issues at the forefront of sustainability, like PFAS and living wages. And those are things that many other systems don't address because they just consider these issues out of reach. EPEAT uses a tiered system that includes both required and optional criteria that are designed to incentivize a race to the top. Products can achieve EPEAT bronze, silver, or gold depending on the number of optional points they obtain. And perhaps most importantly, I want all of you to know that EPEAT bronze products have to meet all required criteria and represent sustainability leadership. This means that EPEAT bronze products address all key sustainability impacts across the life cycle of the product, from raw material extraction and manufacturing through to use and end of life. You can think of the EPEAT bronze mark in the same way as you would any other credible type 1 eco-label, because that's what it's comparable to. EPEAT silver and gold, on the other hand, they really go above and beyond. And that's because optional criteria are very challenging to meet and are designed intentionally so only the most advanced products can achieve them. Because of this, EPEAT silver and gold products are considered highly innovative from a sustainability perspective, and as stakeholders, you can generally expect to see fewer products that have obtained silver and gold in the registry. I know the tiers are not a new feature of EPEAT 2.0, but I do appreciate that it can be confusing for stakeholders. So I hope the last couple of minutes have helped you understand that required and optional criteria, they don't create loopholes or shortcuts. Instead, we use optional criteria to incentivize even higher levels of sustainability performance to address new issues and create a race to the top. Okay, now I'm going to touch on verification, and that's because the system behind an eco-label really matters. First and foremost, please know the verification system isn't changing. It's the same for both EPEAT 1.0 and 2.0, and I just wanted to mention that to avoid any confusion. Our verification system is robust, and it's designed to ensure that all of the products that appear in the registry meet EPEAT criteria. EPEAT criteria are very unique, and electronic products are highly configurable and also have very complex global supply chains. So our verification system has been designed to reflect these realities. Now, I've called out some of the key aspects of our verification system on the screen, and the first attribute you'll see there is independence. And as you would expect from any type 1 eco-label, verification to ensure that products meet EPEAT criteria is conducted by independent third-party conformity assurance bodies, or CABs, that are approved by GEC. So it is these conformity assurance experts that actually conduct the verification work. Importantly, this verification work has to be completed initially before a product can appear on the registry, and then again on an ongoing basis to ensure continued conformance. The framework itself is designed to evaluate both the product and corporate level EPEAT criteria. And that's especially important because many of our corporate criteria are really quite unique. They are systematic and drive into the supply chain by requiring conformance assurance systems to be in place that apply to all of the manufacturing sites that produce EPEAT registered products. So we make sure that CABs collect evidence of these conformance assurance systems working across their entire supply chain. Lastly, you'll see that I've called out best practices as a key feature of our verification system, and it's something we really take a lot of pride in. We have eligibility requirements and a rigorous onboarding process for new CABs. We have performance metrics they must meet and audit each of them on an annual basis. We also conduct initial and ongoing training for CABs and require all auditors to pass initial and ongoing auditor exams. When it comes to products in the registry, we have very clear procedures for any non-conformances that may be discovered. In short, there are consequences, and manufacturers are required to correct non-conformances within 30 days. But if they're not able to, products are indeed removed from the registry. In fact, we actually publish any products that are found to be non-conformant during the ongoing verification process we call continuous monitoring. Understanding our verification system in the context of the transition to EPEAT 2.0 is important because you might be wondering what kind of verification occurs when a product transitions from EPEAT 1.0 to 2.0. In short, products must complete documentation review again for EPEAT 2.0 as if they're starting from scratch. So there's no grandfathering from 1.0 to 2.0, which means that manufacturers have to work with their conformity assurance body to prove that a product meets EPEAT 2.0 criteria before it appears on the registry as a 2.0 product. All right, so that is it from me. And at this point, I'm going to hand things back over to Kaushik to speak to some of the key milestones and implications for stakeholders throughout the transition. Kaushik.
Thank you very much, Catherine. As Catherine mentioned, I'd like to talk a little bit about the transition to EPEAT 2.0 and what this means or what the implications of this transition might be for purchasers such as yourselves. So first and foremost, if you could click through the animations, first and foremost, what I'd like to communicate is that irrespective of EPEAT 2.0 or 1.0, our suggestion is to stay the course with EPEAT. And the reason for this is fairly straightforward. EPEAT as an eco-label keeps growing along multiple dimensions. And if you commit to staying the course and leveraging EPEAT as a sustainable purchasing tool, you get the benefits of this growth that EPEAT continuously goes through. The first dimension of growth that I'd like to talk about is what we call as depth. As EPEAT, we heard Bob and Catherine talk about how we are raising the bar, and EPEAT keeps raising the bar on sustainability criteria in many different ways, which keeps deepening the impact that the eco-label can have. And with EPEAT 2.0, the criteria extend deeper into the supply chain, address new and emerging sustainability topics like Catherine just talked about, and raises the sustainability performance threshold that products need to meet. The second dimension, if you can click through, please. The second dimension that I'd like to talk about is reach, which is actually the green arrow, if you could click through once more, which refers to a growing list of brands that participate in the EPEAT program. So as EPEAT and as GEC, we are continuously engaged with brands that want to participate in the EPEAT program, and there's a growing list of companies and brands that do sign on board, and there's a growing list of products that meet EPEAT criteria that purchasers have access to. And the third dimension of growth that I will talk about is what we call as breadth, or what I refer to as breadth over here, where EPEAT expands into newer product categories. For example, we recently announced enterprise data storage as a new product category that will be launched. And we heard earlier on about how the structural changes to the EPEAT 2.0 criteria actually make it easier and more efficient and effective for EPEAT to scale up into new product categories. So the basic message here is, before we talk about the transition, the message is stay the course with EPEAT. And we do a lot of the work of growing the eco-label along many different dimensions, and you as a purchaser get the benefit of this growth through your commitment to EPEAT as a purchasing. Now, starting with the right side of this slide, EPEAT 2.0 is transitioning the criteria for most EPEAT product categories, and the product categories that will be covered under the transition to EPEAT 2.0 at this moment are the ones that are highlighted in blue. So computers and displays, mobile phones, imaging equipment, televisions, servers, and enterprise data storage, which is a product category that we've recently announced and that we're currently working on, will be product categories that will be available on the EPEAT 2.0 criteria. There are a couple of product categories, which is photovoltaics and network equipment, which you see in the bottom half of the slide, which will remain on EPEAT 1.0 for the moment and will transition at a later date. And we will make sure to communicate, when this transition does take place. But the registry, this transition plan and the registry has been designed to ensure that purchasers such as yourselves continue to have access to the largest selection of sustainable electronic products. As we speak, there are about 75 electronic brands that participate in EPEAT, and this is a moving target because there are more brands that come on board all the time, and sometimes there are brands that choose not to continue with the program, but on a net basis, the number of brands participating in EPEAT is a growing number, so this is a moving target. At last count, there were about 5,500 unique products on the EPEAT registry that purchasers have access to. And this again is a moving target that, where there are new products added on all the time and get added to the registry. We do grow into new product categories, with enterprise data storage being one. And we also see a lot of purchasers bundling categories together. We know that there's a lot of investments taking place on data centers and on cloud services. And one way to achieve sustainability in the ICT stack that you have in your data centers is to again look at EPEAT and specify EPEAT in purchasing of data center services or cloud services through the combination of EPEAT registered servers or EPEAT registered network equipment or data storage equipment that would be available in the new year. So let me take a moment to talk about the transition plan and the timelines of the transition. I'd like to highlight two milestones to keep in mind, one being December 2025, which is where we are now, and the second being July 2027. And the 18-month period between these two dates is the transition period from EPEAT 1.0 to 2.0. Starting December 2025, starting from this month, EPEAT 2.0 products will start appearing on the registry. So you'll be able to go in and look for EPEAT 2.0 products starting in December. And then during the 18-month transition period, the registry will show both EPEAT 2.0 and 1.0 products. We do, of course, expect that the number of 2.0 products in the registry will increase over time, and the number of 1.0 products would possibly decrease over time. And this transition period and overlap between 2.0 and 1.0 products has been intentionally designed to ensure that purchasers such as yourselves continue to have access to a large selection of sustainable electronic products as we make the shift to EPEAT 2.0. One interim milestone some of you may want to keep in mind is the date of July 2026, which is about 6 months from now. This is the date after which no new EPEAT 1.0 products for the categories that are applicable can be listed on the registry. So after July 2026, all new products for applicable categories will meet EPEAT 2.0 criteria, any new product that gets registered on the registry. And of course, from July 2027 onwards, the registry will contain only EPEAT 2.0 products for the applicable categories. And in these categories, any 1.0 products that are still there will be archived on this date, on July 1st, 2027. Of course, we understand that many of you as purchasers have policies or framework agreements and contracts that span multiple years, and you may want to go back at some point and look at EPEAT 1.0 products. And these will continue to be searchable through the archives page on the EPEAT registry, and we'll try and show you a very quick demo of that later today. We have also put in place what we're calling as an EPEAT 2.0 launch partner program, and this is to encourage product manufacturers to adopt EPEAT 2.0. This program recognizes early adopters, that is brands that list at least one EPEAT 2.0 product in the registry within the first 6 months of launch. So between now and July of 2026, when a product manufacturer lists at least one EPEAT 2.0 product, they get to participate in the launch partner program, which helps them get recognition for the hard work that they've done. One way in which they do get recognition is to have their logo featured on the EPEAT registry homepage. So we encourage all of you to keep regularly checking the registry homepage to see which company and which brand is now starting to produce products that meet EPEAT 2.0 criteria. And one more quick update that I'd like to share with you is we had originally planned for December 2nd, which is yesterday, to be the launch date for the registry. We are dealing with a couple of technical issues that we expect to resolve in the next few days. So the registry will be launched in the next few days, and you'll be able to go on. And we expect at the time of launch that there will already be a few brands and a few products that meet EPEAT 2.0 criteria. So once we are able to get through these technical issues and launch the registry in the next few days, all of you will be able to go onto the registry and take a look at the products that are out there. And of course, keep checking back to see the growing list of EPEAT 2.0 products in the coming weeks and months. But what does the implication of this transition period mean for purchasers such as yourselves? As you can imagine, there will be a certain change or a certain, the mix of products in the registry might at some point start to look a little different. Firstly, as I talked about, there will be both EPEAT 2.0 and 1.0 products available on the registry during the transition period, with the number and the ratio of 2.0 and 1.0 products, likely changing over time. Also keep in mind that it is possible for a product to be both 1.0 and 2.0 criteria at the same time. So you might see the same product listed as an EPEAT 1.0 product as well as an EPEAT 2.0 product. But as Catherine mentioned earlier on, for a product to be listed as meeting either of these criteria, it would have to have independently gone through an independent verification process to demonstrate that it meets both sets of criteria, both 1.0 and 2 criteria, before it can appear on the registry as having so. But we also expect that the mix of products in terms of the tiers, bronze, silver, and gold, change a little bit as a result of this transition period and as a result of the EP 2.0 criteria. 2.0 in terms of criteria is a big step. It's really raising the bar on sustainability, and EP 2.0 bronze EP bronze really represents sustainability leadership. And 2.0 products that meet silver and gold mean that they are meeting a number of advanced sustainability topics. So there's a number of advanced sustainability features built into the product. So we do expect that there will be a change in the mix of these products, potentially a larger number of bronze products initially with more silver and gold at a later point. We're also very curious to see what this mix looks like, but we want to just give you a heads up that there might be a change in what this mix of products between bronze, silver, and gold looks like on the registry. We have, however, and you'll see in just a few moments, updated the registry so that it's very easy to find products that meet the criteria that you need. The registry has a number of advanced search features, a number of capabilities to search by 1.0 or 2.0 or a number of other filters. So as purchasers, as you go in and look for products that meet your requirements, you will have the support of the EPEAT Registry features to make that process as simple as possible. And how, just a little bit of guidance on how, we recommend you leverage EPEAT in your policies and tenders. Firstly, as I mentioned earlier, continue to ask for EPEAT registered products. Continue to reference EPEAT in your policies or your tenders or other contracts. Continue to ask for this from your suppliers. Nothing changes there. However, we would like to encourage you as purchasers to create incentives for your suppliers to deliver EPEAT 2.0 products. This might be incentives in the form of optional requirements in your tenders. It might be incentives in the form of additional points potentially, or in many other ways. But creating incentives for EPEAT 2.0 products will help make the transition to 2.0, will help accelerate the transition to 2.0, and will also help you as a purchaser get access to products that meet the newest set of criteria. And thirdly, we also really encourage you to leverage the key features of EPEAT to your advantage, right? Really leverage the optional criteria that you heard about earlier today in ways to help you meet specific needs of your sustainability strategy or your procurement strategy. For example, if addressing PFAS or forever chemicals is important to you as an organization, as a purchaser, there are optional criteria that you can use from in the EPEAT system that you can use in your tenders. Or if living wage, for example, is an important feature or is an important issue that you as a purchaser want to create impact on, then there are criteria in the EPEAT system that you can specify in your tenders and help you move the needle forward on this issue. So Climate Plus is an additional designation that EPEAT launched in 2023. And this was something we launched because we wanted to activate the 2.0 climate criteria earlier on and to bring more products into the market and have more demand for products that have a lower climate impact, just given the urgency of the issue. Starting December 2025, the requirements for a Climate Plus product will also change, and the requirements actually go up. So starting December 2025, a Climate Plus product will have to meet all of the required climate criteria, and there are 8 required climate criteria. So the product will have to meet all of these 8 climate criteria, and will have to meet at least 50% of the optional climate criteria. So at least 6 out of the 11 optional climate criteria. So this does bring the bar up for what a Climate Plus product is. We know many of you reference Climate Plus in your purchasing policies and agreements, and we encourage you to continue doing so. We'd just like to flag that because of the change in requirements, there could be a lower number of Climate Plus products available initially. So products that currently have Climate Plus will need to meet the new requirements and re-qualify to continue to use that badge, which may take some time. So we do see the potential for a lower number of Climate Plus products initially, but that will hopefully increase over time. But just something we want to flag to you as purchasers as you use Climate Plus in your purchasing processes. And I want to kind of round out here to say that we are here to support you. There's the EPEAT system can sometimes feel a little complicated, and there's a few nuances to the system. I will say, we make no apologies for that, because we're really trying to address a very broad set of advanced, complex sustainability issues, and these are design features of EPEAT to be able to address these issues in an effective and an efficient way. Having said that, we do recognize that sometimes this can make things complicated and this can cause some confusion. And we want to make sure that you have the support as a purchaser to be able to use EPEAT in a way that's effective and really addresses your needs. So please feel free to reach out to the EPEAT purchaser engagement team that you see here, and will also be, this contact information will also be available on the EPEAT registry once the updated registry is launched. You will have this information, but please feel free to reach out to my colleagues in the US or in Canada or in Switzerland or to me in Belgium, and we are more than happy to support you and help you figure out what's the best way to embed EPEAT into your purchasing processes. But with that, if we can go to the next slide. With that, let's just have a very quick look at the registry, a little demo of what features we're trying to build in, and I will hand over to Jordan Kimball for this demo.
Thanks, Kaushik. Hello, my name is Jordan Kimball, and I'm the Technical Product Manager for the EPEAT Registry. What I wanted to do today was demonstrate some of the new functionalities that are coming with our 2.0 launch. When you go to the product finder, epeat.net, what you will notice first is we have a whole new look and feel to the registry. Our main filters, our search, and any kind of advanced searching is now on this left-hand side to give you a more modern look and feel. You'll also see EPEAT 1.0 and EPEAT 2.0 products available on this same registry. To switch between those, all you have to do is check one or the other, or both if you're looking for all the products together. And we also have a variety of new search capabilities now available. So as you're filtering down this list, the product categories can now be searched simultaneously. So if you were looking for multiple products in different categories, this can all be done now in one search field. The search results, as you probably noticed, they update automatically based on the filters to give you much quicker results as compared to before, where you always had to click search to refresh that. This now refreshes live. You can now also search for archive products directly in this registry as well, without having to download secondary reports that show that information. And to do that, all you need to do is just click this archive at the top, which will then display that you're currently viewing the archive products, and you'll see all the historical archive products available to you here. And as you're filtering these lists, whether on archive or active, you'll notice the applied filters at the top will show you all of the filters that you currently have on. And say you wanted to restart and start over, you can just click this clear all button and it'll bring you back to the default view. The other thing I wanted to show you was our advanced reports. So you can still download these just like you have done today. So we have the export advanced and export results at the top here, and I will show you what those look like.
As you'll see when you download these reports, they look very similar to the reports as of today. The main difference is we split out the EPEAT 1.0 and EPEAT 2.0 into two separate tabs. The reason being is they have some different fields related to them, and not all the criteria overlap exactly. So if you're looking for your results, just make sure you're using both of these tabs to find those. The other thing you might notice is if you download the advanced reports, we may have some additional fields that previously weren't available in 1.0 results. And that is the demonstration I wanted to give you today. There's a bit more, but hopefully this gets you excited to see the new registry. And I will hand this back over to Kaushik to talk about EPEAT engagement.
Thank you, Jordan, for that very quick overview of the registry. Let me, wind up this webinar by just talking very quickly about how you can continue to stay engaged with EPEAT and with GEC. Let me say, first of all, that this webinar is just first in a series of events that we have lined up. We heard about all the different complex issues that EPEAT as an ecolabel addresses, from living wage to water stewardship to net zero targets and a number of other issues. What we'd like to do over the course of 2026 is to provide you with more materials on how you as a purchaser can use EPEAT to address some of these issues that might be most relevant to you. This will be in the form of webinars and so on, just topical webinars that we have planned. So, if you're not already signed up to our purchaser newsletter or following us on our social media, please do so. That's a good way to stay connected on these events. We do also want to have more live connect with a broad set of stakeholders through roundtables, a number of conferences that we're looking to participate at, events to meet the GEC team in Europe, in North America, and other parts of the world that we are putting together. And we're also putting together resources that we want to make sure that you have access to. There is a fairly detailed purchaser, EPEAT 2.0 purchaser FAQ, frequently asked questions that will address a number of questions that we went through on this webinar, which will be available on the EPEAT registry. Purchaser guides specific to different topics will be available on the EPEAT registry or on the GEC website. So we encourage you to use these resources and to stay connected with us through these series of events. Now, EPEAT also has tools and programs that can help you really quantify the impact of the procurement decisions you're making and to get recognized for it. The EPEAT Benefits Calculator, which I think many of you are familiar with, is a tool that allows you to quantify along multiple dimensions the benefits of procuring EPEAT registered products. This calculator is available on the EPEAT registry, and an updated version covering EPEAT 2.0 criteria is coming soon. That's something that we're working on, and will be made available to all of you very soon, so that you can also look at the impact of the EPEAT 2.0 products that you would be purchasing going forward. And the EPEAT Purchaser Rewards Program is an annual program that, again, works with a number of purchasers around the world. We've had a lot of purchasers participate over the last few years, and we'll continue having this program as a means for purchasers to not just quantify the benefits of the decisions they're making, but also to really get recognition for it through the annual award ceremony. So please, again, reach out to us if this is something, if you're not already participating in the Purchaser Award Program, please do reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to tell you, how you could be a part of this recognition program. And I just want to close here by saying, please do stay in touch with us. I already mentioned that the purchaser engagement team is out, is ready to help you. We're really excited to be launching EPEAT 2.0. We're really excited to have all of you on this webinar, listening, getting more information about EPEAT 2.0. We really hope you will take some of this information and implement it into your own procurement processes and procurement cycles. And we look forward to staying connected with all of you. And if at any point you have any questions, please do reach out to me or any one of my colleagues on the screen. But with that, again, I'd like to thank you all for your time, and thank you all for being here with us. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I can say that we certainly enjoyed pulling all this material together and sharing it with you today. Once again, thank you and have a nice day.